when I bought the home, when I looked at it, I thought the comps could go up to 1.65, but in my mind, conservatively, I'm like, it's going to be 1.6, right? Until I fix it up, and then I go, wow, this house is nice, and I listed at 1.65. That's what we ended up selling it at. But I still value it conservatively to make sure that it's not overpriced. Welcome to Love, Listings, and Legacy, where love, community, and building a lasting impact meet. We are Mony and Sophaline, a husband and wife real estate team, sharing our perspectives on life, real estate, and philanthropy, our stories about resilience and service. Join us each week as we share our journey of life, business, and giving back, all while building a legacy for our family and community. This is Love, Listings, and Legacy, where hearts, homes, and philanthropy come together. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Love, Listings, and Legacy with Sophaline Mao and
Mony Nup.
And today, guys, you are in for a treat because in this episode, Mony and I are going to share with you the ups and downs and common mistakes that flippers make, especially when it's their first time. So all of us, we watch HGTV, we see all the fun that happens, but in real life, it's a way different experience. And so we're just super excited to dive in and share with you what we have learned. But before I get to that, thank you to those who have liked and subscribed to our channel. And if you are tuned in today and if you have not yet clicked like on our subscribe button, please do so because it will give Mony and I such a big boost of love and support and confidence. And we would love to continue bringing these episodes to you. So thank you. With no further ado, let's go ahead and dive into some 3 common mistakes that flippers have made. So, you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right. So, one of the things that we have found is that it's all about the numbers. And sometimes as homeowners, we get a little bit too emotionally tied and we start to overvalue the property. So with that said, I'm going to have Mony kind of explain and maybe share his thoughts with you on overvaluing the property and what are some things that he learned when pricing the property correctly.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's nice to see you again and nice to be part of this. And thanks again for supporting us. Great question, honey. This is what comes to mind when I think about not overvaluing the property. When I look at a home, first of all, I look at it for all the things that need to be done to the home. For example, major things are windows, roof, air conditioning unit, electrical, plumbing, how many bathrooms need to be renovated. Those are the kind of things I look at. And also, does the home back up to the railroad track?
Right.
Does the home back up to a major thoroughfare? Is the home in a just okay area? Is it in a really, really good location, meaning that it's great, close to the number 1 school, the number 2 school, the number 3 school in the school district? Because those things matters most because most people are buy and sell next. Well, over 90% of them will have children. So you want to think about that. But at the same time, when it comes to valuing the property, before I do that, I look at the property, I run my comps, and I want to give it an after repair value, meaning that what's the maximum price I could sell for the home? But at the same time, I want to be a little cautious and a little more conservative. For example, if I think that the highest comps in the neighborhood is 1.25 million, I might just go 1.2 million on my side. And then off that, I would try to buy it at 70% of the 1.2. In that case, it would be about $850,000. So if that's the case, if I get it for that price and then I have the margin to buy that home and then to have the opportunity to fix and flip it and make profit as a result. So
I think it sounds like knowing the numbers, when we talk about the numbers in your first time flipping a home, knowing the numbers is really key. And I think that's what Mony is referring to, as well as the location of the desired property, as well as the conditions of perhaps the location. As Mony mentioned, it might have some, I would say challenges, right? Not necessarily negative, but just challenges that a typical buyer would probably see as something undesirable. But what I wanted to
Let me break a little bit. Let me give you one more point on that. When I bought the home, when I looked at it, I thought the comps could go up to 1.65, but in my mind, conservatively, I'm like, it's going to be 1.6, right? Until I fix it up, and then I go, wow, this house is nice, and I listed at 1.65. That's what we ended up selling it at. But I still value it conservatively to make sure that it's not overpriced.
But I think, which is a great thing to do. But I think for most people, if they're not an experienced realtor like you are, that's going to be something that they might not have a skill set in. And so what I wanted to bring you back to is, can you share why it's important to take your feelings out of the house? Because we always can say, oh my God, this house is amazing. But how have you, flipping your first home, how do you take your feelings out of the house?
Well, first of all, it's an investment property, right? So when it comes to investment, it's about the numbers. We really, at the end of the day, no one cares how you feel when you go sell a house, you don't make any money. Really, it's about making a profit. Is it worth all the time and headaches that you're going through? Because it's going to be a journey. Most people will probably get their flipping done in 3 to 4 months. We're so lucky that we had a great team that we got it done in less than 3 months from start to finish.
Which is phenomenal. That's very
10
much.
10 weeks in one day from the time we got it and sold 10 weeks in one day is incredible. It's hard. You have to be organized. There's just so many other skill set and assets and knowledge that you have to have. But to that point, it's all about the numbers and making sure that if the number's not there, the margin's not there, don't buy that property.
So as we were talking about the numbers, like let's look at renovation costs, because that's a hole where a lot of flippers, especially new flippers, that you could actually start to like dig a deep hole in. So Mony, can you share a story of when you thought something would cost a certain amount and you were just completely shocked? Could you share that with our audience?
Absolutely. In our case, I'm going to give you many examples because there's some mistakes made. For example, the house is 5-bedroom, 2-bath, but I'm so used to doing like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700, 1,500 square feet, right? But this one is 2,300 square feet. So I'm like, oh my God, there's 2 extra bedrooms I have to renovate. I have to add extra floor, extra baseboard, extra lighting, extra fans in there, right? And then I go, oh my God, the kitchen is huge. Normally a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the kitchen is pretty small. Then I have to buy more cabinets, more granite counters for the bathroom, more granite counters for the kitchen. I didn't realize that it cost so much more. So, for example, my budget is normally about $8,000 for that, the cabinets and the granite counters. It turned out to be $15,000+.
That's a lot more.
So that's a lot more. It's almost double what I expected. But that's why you got to have the margin from the get-go to make sure that those are taken into consideration into your profit margin.
Well, that's definitely an area where I think for those of us who are considering flipping, that we might want to maybe consult someone who's got a little bit of experience and perhaps really like hone in on the exact square footage and then getting a bit more accurate on your numbers. So as we're talking about the numbers, one thing that I also wanted to bring up is sometimes a common mistake is that we ignore holding costs. And so things like taxes, utilities, insurance, right? That all adds up as part of the holding costs. So how did you track your costs and just kind of monitored everything?
For me, I'm really organized, so I keep an Excel spreadsheet of all my costs and all my receipts. So that's really, really important. And then, of course, I add them, subtract them to make sure that I know my actual numbers by the end of the day. But you have to think about insurance, for example. Most insurance company, you buy a vacant home, they have to do a vacant insurance. And some company would only take your payment for up to 6 months. Some company took a year. I went with this company that took a whole payment for a whole year. Now that I've only used 3 months of it, he's going to have to refund me back. But I just found out it takes 60 days to get my money back. I'm like, wait, you took my money immediately. Now you're going to make me wait 60 days to get my money back, which is crazy, right? Yeah. But and then some companies obviously are offering a little bit less and some a little bit more. But it just shopped around for a couple insurance rate before you get there, right? But you're keeping track of all the receipts and PG&E and just all everything that the pool, for example, pool need to be, in this case, it has a pool. so you have to take care of the pool as well. So I'm keeping tracks of all of it with the receipts and an Excel spreadsheet. It's really important that you do that.
Yeah, so it sounds like you need some Exceling skills, some spreadsheet modeling skills, and just be able to keep track of everything. As Mony mentioned, just being really organized on top of your invoices and receipts. So guys, if you'd like a tracker, if you want an example of what we've used, just leave a comment and we'll be more than happy to share something with you so that you could get started. And so, flipping is really a numbers game before it's a design project. Many times we see it on TV, we see it on social media. It seems really fun, but it's a lot of work. And so make sure you run your math twice and run it again. It's always a good thing to check. And so with that said, what I wanted to do is probably have a little bit of time for Mony to talk about the things that obviously have to go into flipping a project. So things like construction and permits and some of the pitfalls that you come across. So another common pitfall that new flippers may not be aware of is that sometimes skipping the inspections. So I'm going to have Mony actually share with you kind of how skipping an inspection or maybe not looking at it thoroughly could actually prove to be very, very detrimental. So inspections and what you learned with your first property flip, how did that help? And could you maybe share with our audience here what is something that was missed or could have been missed during an inspection?
Well, first of all, when I bought, I didn't do any inspection at the beginning. I just kind of walked through the property, but just so much property everywhere. Just so much stuff all over the house. I just have to guesstimate on what I think it's going to cost to do that. So, but in my case, because of my experience, I was able to guess pretty good about what needs to be done. And I wrote down all the major things that need to be done at the house. And I brought that calculation back to me and then take a look at it and then evaluated whether I should buy this property or not. But the margin was there. I knew that no matter what, the margin was going to be there. So I did that. But at a minimum, when you buy a home, you should get home, pest, roof, and chimney inspections done. And if there's a pool, you want to get that done too, because pool could be a major issue. Like in this case, we had a major issue with the pool. I thought it was going to cost a couple $100, but it turned out to be about $8,000 to take care of. Okay.
That actually is a huge pitfall. So that was something we learned, guys. And that's something that we wanted to really just authentically share with everyone that, hey, your first time, you're going to have some costly mistakes, but we want to make sure that you avoid those costly mistakes like we did. And so one of the things also too that we learned, you and I, we attended an event where experienced flippers were actually sharing their experiences and nuggets of wisdom with us. So, we want to talk about like permits, right? A lot of times, first time flippers, like you overlook that. We're like, oh, like, could we do it without a permit? So what would be your advice to someone who is considering permits and whether or not to deal with them?
Well, for me, first of all, the reason I took out the permits for for the property I purchased, and the reason why is because professionalism matters, and it's a lot easier to sell a home when you have a permit. Yes, it does take a little bit longer, and then every city does it differently, different requirements. But the city of Livermore is actually, despite of all the things that I've gone through, it's actually pretty easy to work with. They're amazing to work with, actually. So, but yeah, to me, I would recommend getting permits done. Yes, it is a pain in the neck to go through the process, but it's important that you do that, and it's easier to sell when the home is already permitted. The buyer just feels so much more confident that things were done right, especially the bathrooms and the showers and the kitchen and the electrical issues that may come up.
Well, I was just going to say as well, I mean, obviously, we are full-time licensed realtors, just to put that out there. And we would always follow the advice that we give to our clients and our sellers as well. And so I think when it comes to permits, obviously, that is a decision that each person can make. However, based on our experience, it's just best to do it. Best to do the right thing, follow the process. And as Mony said, it can be a bit of a longer process, but it's a much needed process that's actually going to help you in the long run, because should something happen later down the road, having a permit, being able to resell, being able to really have the documentation behind all that matters. So when
a couple things I want to add too on the permit side. One is there's two type of permits. Normally you could get it through, if you work with a general contractor, he or she will pull the permits for you, and they know how to do that because that's what they do, right? But if you get the owner's permit, you could do that yourself, but making sure that there's this step in a process that you got to follow. For example, a shower, when you do the rough, the plumbing and all that, you have to get the city to come out and do progress inspection with you to make sure that you are doing everything the right way.
Okay.
And I'll tell you about our mistakes in a minute.
Okay, great. Yeah, Mony's got like a ton of wisdom to share, so he just gets really excited. But like, assuming a contractor, will handle pulling the permits, could you share a little bit about maybe best practices in terms of like verifying some of that, especially like asking for permit receipts, or just what was your experience with the permitting process? If you could just share.
In my case, in my first one, I had a family member help us with it. So there's, I don't know all the questions to ask, and there's got to be more questions to ask to make sure that when you're talking to, for example, the city, are you talking to a permit tech or versus the actual city inspector? Because the permit tech may not have all the information, and they may just give you some information, kind of really basic, where in actuality, you should be speaking with the city inspector so you know the exact process to what is done right, what is done wrong. And from that, we made some mistakes as a result of that. I'll tell you a little bit more about it too.
Okay, great. So would you like to kind of maybe elaborate on that right now, since we're on the topic of city permits? And
yeah, so for example, the mistake that we made in our flip was that when I was talking to, I was thinking about the permit, I was told that there's no in-progress inspections for the showers and all that. But in fact, once we built it together, we had the city come out. We put the shower and bathroom and all that together. We had the city come out. It's like, wait, we weren't here for the rough inspection. We weren't here for the electrical. We weren't here for other stuff. So they want to see photos. So in this case, I had to crawl underneath the house to look at, how the plumbing was done, take pictures and videos to show them. And thank God I documented through the photos. And they said, hey, in this case, there's 3 types of board, for example, to go in a shower wall. You could have used any one of them, but on this particular one, the purple board, you can't cut any design into it. Once you put some tiles in it, you broke the barrier. You just can't put a quartz on it. If you just put a quartz on it, it's fine, like the whole quartz wall. But if you cut a design in, you can't do that. You have to seal it properly. There's another way to do that. So the city, in essence, made us rip both of the showers out and redo the whole thing the second time. Like, wow. But you know what? At first you got, oh my God. But you know what? Sometimes you make the mistakes, and when the city asks you to do something, don't argue with him or her. Just do what they ask. My first question when I make mistakes is I always ask, what can I do to make it right? What can I do to make it satisfactory for you in order to get the permit? And he told me, you got to tear it down, and then the next step, you got to do this. Next step, you do that. We follow all of it. Within 2 weeks, we got our permits. We rebuilt both showers from scratch again. We got a permit, which is incredible. And I got to know the city inspector well. He knows who I am. He knows what I stand for. He knows that I have integrity in the process. Show him the way to do it. And I think that we have a good, trusting relationship. I can call him anytime now, which is kind of cool. So I'm blessed to have done that. But it was a great, expensive lesson, but it's a great learning lesson for me because I was there for every inspection. I know every thing that needs to be done for the bathroom and the showers now. So.
Wow. Thank you, Mony. I think for our listeners here, that key takeaway from what Mony just shared, I think if I had to summarize it, it is to trust but verify. Make sure you understand specifically what is required, because you definitely don't want to get caught up in having to redo everything because you missed a step, which quite honestly, it could just be an honest mistake. It just could be inadvertently overlooked. But I think judging from Mony's experience, I think that's really important. And I think the final thing that I was going to say, just to kind of summarize for me, because it's my first time as well, is that just be willing to accept the areas of improvement and where you could learn, and not like beat yourself up, and really just take care of that. So as Mony mentioned, there's a lot to do with permits, and it sounds like one of the key takeaways, which I think you would agree to, is that you need to talk to the right people in the respective jurisdiction that you are in. And so the example that Mony brought up happens to be in the city where we live, but you definitely want to check with your local city office and making sure that you follow whatever guidelines are available there, because as it sounds like it could actually cause quite a delay in your flipping journey if that's something that you're not privy to. So with that said, I wanted to also now come and talk about strategy and timing, because that is a common pitfall that a lot of first-time flippers make, is just not having the right timing maybe in the market, and how key that is. And obviously, as we are, again, full-time, licensed realtors, the real estate market really does truly matter. So Mony, when we look at timing, could you maybe share, like, typically, just, in a standard flip, how long should that take?
In a standard flip, it will take about 4 to 6 months to finish. What we did at a home on our first flip was a kind of anomaly, meaning that we actually got it done really quickly because we had a great renovation team, and then I'm also very, very experienced listing agent, so I know how the whole process could go pretty quickly. But on a typical, if you're brand new, you probably want to consider 4 to 6 months, and then also budget to make sure that you know that you have enough money for that as well. So that's really, really important. But if you look at the timing in terms of sales, by the way, January to March is the best time to sell every year, anytime, any year, any market has always been the best time, because it's the beginning of the year. People are excited about getting a new home, and there's just less inventory. There's just not as many homes available for people to look at. And when there's not enough homes, people always pay more. So that's one thing. But the other consideration is July and August. July and August is harder because people it's hot. The weather's hot, especially in our area. Sometimes it gets to 108, 109. People are not coming to open houses. But also in July and August, people go on vacation. So it's not as many people available to take a look at your home. So that's really, really important. But 4 to 6 months is very typical for a flip property to sell.
So it sounds like we've covered some of the common pitfalls for first-time flippers. And so now I wanted to give my husband the $1 million question. So Mony, looking back, which of these pitfalls hits the hardest for you personally?
Well, let me just give you my advice, rather than about the pitfalls, but rather about the best advice moving forward if you're a first-time flipper. Well, one, it's a learning experience, right? So take the challenge, take the opportunity to learn and get into the flipping business, and take that opportunity to learn. You're always going to make mistakes no matter what. So every property is going to be different. Something new is going to come up. Some challenge is going to come up. That's the beauty of what we do, is that you learn how to be creative and learn how to solve those problems. So that's one. So take it as a learning experience. Number two is know the permit process. Don't make the mistakes that I did. Talk to the right people at the city versus a permit tech versus like the city inspector, him or herself. So they would give you much more detail. They're required to know so much more of the codes and the violations and what they see on typical mistakes, and they could share those mistakes with you. So this way you don't make mistakes. Number three, it's know the cost. Build in 15 to 25% more rather than say it's $100,000. Build in 15, 20% more, because every project usually costs more. So build that in. Number four. Really, it's about, having fun and learning throughout the process. And that's what it's all about. It's take it all in. I don't know where the journey's going to take you, but for me, I'm hoping to continue to do more and more. And in fact, I would love to add more architectural design and then drawing into the homes that I'm going to be buying. If I could find an Eichler home, I can't wait to fix it all up. But anyhow, that's my goal. But just have fun with it. That's all. That's what it comes down to.
Great.
Well, make money.
No, that sounds great. No, I think hopefully Mony was able to share a lot of the advice. And I think probably, if I have to say, just watching him go through the process and just observing, I think that, a lot of the challenges can be very stressful at that time, but you just have to kind of find a way to resolve it. And I guess for myself, don't be scared. Don't let these mistakes scare you. Everything, when we learn something new, there's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be a failure. But if you take that opportunity to learn, using a failure as an opportunity to learn, you're just going to get that much better. And so we survived our first one. And so now going into our second one, hopefully soon we will come at it with much more experience. And so for all of you who tuned in today, we want to hear your stories. What was that journey like for you? Add it in our comments or on our IG here. We would love to hear from you because we want to create this community of sharing. And that way, everyone who is interested in flipping, or those of you who are experienced flippers, please come join our community, add to the comments, let us know. And if you are interested in the profit and loss spreadsheet that Mony has created, we're happy to share with you just a blank template if that's something that you would like to use. And so if you enjoyed our episode today, please hit like and subscribe, share with someone in your community who's interested in flipping. And Mony and I are so grateful for your time today. So until next time, guys, thank you so much. And we truly enjoyed sharing all of this with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Love, Listings, and Legacy this week. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Join us next time as we continue to navigate the path from adversity to success, one property and one purpose-driven decision at a time. Thanks for listening.